My daughter crashed my car and demanded, "You'll give me the insurance money." When the full amount finally came through, she showed up, expecting a payday. But instead of cash, I calmly handed her a document. As her eyes raced over the words, her confidence vanished. She looked up at me and whispered, "Don't do this. I beg you." If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. I turned into the driveway at 11:42 p.m., headlights sliding over my garage like a searchlight. For a second, I didn't understand what I was seeing. Then the shapes locked into place. Glittering shards where the windshield used to be, a starburst in the rear window, side mirrors hanging by wires like broken wrists. My blue SUV sat there caved in, as if a small storm had chosen only this rectangle of concrete. I killed the engine, and the quiet made everything louder. The ticking hood, a neighbor's TV laugh track, the distant hum of the train. I opened my door, and the night air smelled like cold and rain that never arrived. Glass crunched under my shoes as I walked around the SUV. The headlamps had been smashed with something heavy, wood or metal, not random. The hood wore a dozen new dents, shallow arcs that matched a swing, reset, swing again. The driver's door had 3 neat, deliberate kicks, not chaos, effort. I raised my phone, thumbed the camera, flash on, front, back, sides, door handles, the spider web in the passenger window, close-ups of hinge scratches and the little crescent divots where a tool slipped. I narrated for the mic. Date, time, weather, location. The words made the scene feel like evidence instead of a nightmare. A porch light snapped on across the street. Tom Baker in a bathrobe, hand shading his eyes. "Mark? That you?" "Yeah." I kept my voice even. He shuffled down 2 steps, stopped when the glass caught his light. "Geez, what happened?" "Came home to this. Damn shame." He hugged his robe tighter. "Kids?" "I don't know yet." He nodded at the SUV like it could nod back. "We heard something earlier. A thump or two. Thought it was that wind. Linda said it sounded like a trash can fell over." "What time?" I asked. 10-ish, maybe 10:30. We were watching some baking competition. She'll remember better. He made no move to get her. "Thanks," I said. "You gonna call the cops?" "I'm going to document." I kept filming and angled the phone so the porch light made the gouges gleam. "If I call now, they'll send a cruiser to shrug at it." I heard my tiredness. Turned the camera back to the dents. "They'll want pictures anyway." Tom nodded, relieved at not having to host any drama. "Well, if you need anything." "I'll holler." He retreated. Porch light blinked off. I was alone with the wreck and my pulse. I opened the door carefully, and glass chimed off the rubber mats. Someone had gone for the instrument cluster. The plastic face was cracked, and the steering wheel had a scuff like a ring had caught it. The glove box hung open, papers spilled like a tongue. I lifted a maintenance envelope with 2 fingers, oil change coupon, registration, insurance card. "Northline," I read softly. Policy number ending 119. I filmed all of it. I thought of the deductible. I thought of the overtime I'd worked last week instead of sleeping, to keep a cushion in the account. I thought of what people always say, "That's what insurance is for," and felt my jaw lock. I backed out, brushed glass from my sleeves, and called the non-emergency line. The operator hit her script. "Any suspects?" "Not yet." "Any cameras?" "Doorbell, yes, I'll pull the footage." "An officer can swing by in the morning. Is that acceptable?" "Yes," I said. I ended the call and opened the doorbell app. The timeline had gray bars where motion triggered recordings. 10:07 p.m., a shape at the edge. The wide angle made it warp, but the movement was purposeful. A hoodie. A long object lifted and brought down with a clean, steady rhythm. My stomach tightened. There was a pause. The person stepped away, returned, checked the street, swung again, precise like finishing a job. The face stayed turned down. I replayed the clip 3 times, looking for any slip, a reflex, a tell, a familiar slope of shoulder. Nothing. Only the certainty that whoever did it wasn't scared of the noise, wasn't improvising. I downloaded the clip, labeled it with the time and my address, then created a new folder. Vehicle, incident. I dragged in the photos, the video, the call log. I texted myself the folder link. Paper and teeth, Evan Cole had said the first time I met him, talking about how you move something from bad thing to action. Paper and teeth. I hadn't needed him since last year. Tonight the words returned like muscle memory. I popped the hood, more dense underneath. A deep one near the latch like a hammer had glanced. I couldn't tell if there was engine damage. I filmed anyway. The night had gone colder. The air lifted the hair on my arms. I checked the time again. 11:58. I looked up the claims number and started a draft message. Vehicle vandalism discovered upon arriving home. Evidence collected. Doorbell footage available. Requesting assessment. I stopped before writing motive. There wasn't a clean way to tell a stranger what I felt in my bones. The neighborhood was quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you think everyone is listening. I pictured the HOA message board filling by morning with screenshots and thoughts and prayers. And what kind of person does this? I imagined the thread reaching the people who matter and the one person who matters most. I turned off the garage light and stood in the center of the driveway. My reflection in the side of the SUV was broken into puzzle pieces. I tried to fit them back together with my eyes. Didn't work. Inside, I kicked my shoes off and left a trail of glass. I vacuumed it up, then paused and shot the mess in the nozzle like proof of the proof. I opened the fridge, stared at leftover pasta, shut it again. I put on coffee, though I didn't need it. The clock over the sink climbed to 12:11. In the living room, I set the phone on the coffee table, camera facing the ceiling, and pressed record. Statement, I said. Mark Hale, returning from work, found vehicle vandalized. I listed the damages. I described the method. I said the word deliberate. I didn't say anyone's name. When your world has been rocked by a person you love, the part of your brain that still hopes does everything it can to stall your mouth. My phone buzzed with a calendar alert. Morning meeting at 9. I imagined trying to be normal. I pictured the polite nods, the jokes about Mondays even though it was Tuesday now. The glaze that would slide over their eyes if I tried to explain the weight in my chest. I dismissed the alert and set one for 7 a.m. Call insurer. Another for 8:30. Pull USB drive for officer. Another for 8. Download full doorbell clip archive. The front curtains shifted with a draft. A car crept past slow, then continued. I watched its taillights fade and realized I was holding my breath. My phone buzzed again. A text badge blinked on the lock screen. From a number I knew by heart without looking. Lena. We should talk. The coffee went cold in my hand. For 5 long seconds I stared at the message like it might rearrange itself into something harmless. Maybe she'd seen posts. Maybe she was checking on me. Maybe she was ready to be the person I kept waiting for. I set the mug down, thumb hovering over the keyboard, and told myself to keep breathing. I thought of the last time we'd spoken, A week, two, when she'd called from a parking lot to ask for money, the way she'd hung up before I reached the sentence where I say I love you. I thought of the "I'll figure it out" that had sounded like a threat. Another message arrived before I could type. "Lena, are you home?" I looked at the door, at the SUV dark in the window, at the tiny glittering line of glass I'd missed beneath the chair. I typed, deleted, typed again. Me. "Yes, what's going on?" No reply. The three dots blinked, stopped, blinked again. I stood, set my phone to do not disturb except for favorites, then added her to the exception. I opened the recorder app, checked storage, cleared out last month's grocery list, and a voice memo from a lecture I'd never re-listened to. I launched the recorder again and left it minimized on the home screen. This time I wouldn't trust my memory to carry the weight. The house felt suddenly small. I checked the deadbolt. I checked the back door. I sat, stood, sat again. The clock climbed 1 minute at a time. I told myself not to imagine anything. My brain did it anyway. Headlights turned onto our street and threw twin beams across the far wall. They washed over the family photos, Grace's smile in summer light. Lena at 10 with a cake in front of her. Me with my arm around both of them on a hike where we'd gotten caught in rain and laughed all the way back to the car. The light slid past, then reversed. Tires whispered against curb. "Lena, I'm outside." My thumb hovered over call. I didn't press it. I rose and walked to the window but kept to the side so the living room was a mirror. The beams tilted, narrowing until they painted two bright ovals on the garage door. The engine idled. I couldn't see her through the glare. I took a breath that felt like a decision, picked up my phone, and flipped the recorder into the foreground. The red bar pulsed. I looked at the front door and told my heart to keep time. Her headlights swung into my drive. I opened the door before she could knock. Night air and cold car exhaust slipped past her into the hallway. Lena stood there in a hoodie and black leggings, hair in a high knot like she'd done it with one hand while walking. Her eyes flicked over my shoulder, taking inventory the way people do when they're deciding how hard to push. "Hi, Dad," she said, voice flat, familiar and not. "Come in," I said. She stepped across the threshold and paused to look at the window. The SUV's broken silhouette showed in the glass like a shadow puppet. "You saw it," I said. "Everyone saw it," she said, and gave a small, humorless laugh. "This street gossips." I shut the door. The lock thumped. I kept my phone low and casual in my right hand. On screen, a red bar pulsed, then vanished into the dim as I tilted it. "Do you want coffee?" I asked. "No." She glanced at the family photos on the wall, then away fast. "We should talk." "Okay." In the living room, she didn't sit. She stayed standing, arms loose, chin up a degree too high. I stood across from her with the coffee table between us like a witness. "You wouldn't give me the money," she said. "For what?" "For me." She said it like the word was a category. Rent, car, image, everything. "You always say no and then you lecture." I said no because you think I don't deserve help. The speed of it, the angle, she'd rehearsed. "I think you deserve better than this," I said. I nodded toward the driveway. She followed my look and shrugged like the weather had changed. "You have insurance." "Insurance isn't a magic trick." "Then it's a process," she said. "You love processes." Silence pulled the room tight. The phone warmed against my palm. I watched the tendons in her throat stand out, a small tell from when she was a kid trying not to cry. "Lena," I said, "tell me what happened." She rolled her eyes. Then, For one beat, they softened. The face I used to know flashed through like light behind a cloud. It was gone before I could reach for it. "I did it," she said. The words landed in my chest like a heavy book. No wobble, no uncertainty. She said it clear, like she was ordering at a counter. I kept my voice steady. "You're telling me you destroyed my car?" "Yes, Dad." She met my eyes now, daring me to look away. "I destroyed your car." "Why?" "You wouldn't give me the money." She tilted her head, hair scraping hoodie. "So I decided insurance would." My finger tightened on the phone. The recorder app's tiny timer flicked forward. My heart counted along. "This is criminal," I said. "Drama much?" She smiled, small and sharp. "No one gets hurt." Someone did. I felt my pulse in my teeth. Me. "You'll get it back," she said, slow and patient, like explaining to a child. "You file the claim. They pay out. End of story." "It isn't the end," I said. "It will be if you don't make it into one." She inhaled, exhaled. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to pick up what you owe me." I waited. $5,000, she said. The sound of it was practiced, like a number she'd said a lot lately. "Cash is easiest." "You're demanding $5,000 from me because you vandalized my car." She flinched, almost nothing, at the word vandalized. Her mouth thinned. "Don't be dramatic," she said again. "You have insurance." I set the phone on the edge of the coffee table, screen down, mic unobstructed. I straightened a framed photo of her at 10 with chocolate frosting on her cheek. The frame had tilted. It righted with a click. "How did you do it?" I asked. She blinked. "Does it matter?" "It matters to me." I kept my voice level. "And it's my house." Her shoulders squared. A new posture slid over her like a jacket. "Windshields are tougher than they look," she said. "If you hit from the corner, it caves easier. Headlights go quicker. Mirrors are mostly plastic." She looked toward the front window like she could see her work again. "You take your time. You finish the job." Each sentence was a nail in a board. "Did anyone help you?" "No." There was pride there, bright and ugly. "I don't need help." I nodded once. I could feel the shape of this talk now. The moves, the trap inside the gift. She'd come to confess because she thought it bought her leverage. She'd built a little stage where she was the only one with lines. "You did this because I told you no," I said. "You told me no after years of telling me yes and then resenting it," she said. "You don't get to play generous gatekeeper anymore. Either you help or you don't." "Not like this. Everything is like this." She gestured vaguely. "Life, bills, the street, the air. Everyone gets what they can. You taught me that when you taught me to polish a resume to look better than I was. That isn't what I taught you." She laughed. It had no warmth. "It's what I learned." The coffee in the kitchen had gone cold. The house smelled faintly burned. My jaw ached. "Here's what happens," she said, brisk now, businesslike. "You file the claim first thing. You send me the payout when it lands. We're done. With you walking away. With me not making this worse." She let the words sit. "People are watching. You think they're on your side because you play the sad widower dad. They're not. They love drama more. You think you can hurt me more than you already have," I said. She tilted her head again. "You'd be surprised." The clock over the sink ticked loud enough to hear from here. I thought of the doorbell clip on my phone, the angle of the swing, the way she checked the street. I thought of the way she tucked the hammer at her side like it was part of her arm. I thought of my voice on the recorded statement saying deliberate. "Say it again," I said. She frowned. "What?" "What you did." She rolled her eyes. I destroyed your car." My thumb slid along the phone's edge as if to calm it. The recorder caught the tiny rasp of skin on glass. I let the silence stretch. She filled it. "You can have 2 days," she said. "By Friday, cash." "Or what?" She smiled, steady this time. "I'll fix it my way." "You mean you'll lie?" I said. "I mean I'll tell a story," she said. "And I'll tell it loud. People will believe it. They already almost do." I pictured a cut clip, my voice pasted under a threat it never delivered. A comment section with my name built into a punchline. I pictured the HOA, the church foyer, the raised eyebrows in a grocery store aisle. "Don't do that," I said. "Then don't make me." She checked her phone, thumbs hovering, then sliding. "Friday, cash." I took a breath that tasted like metal. "Sit down," I said. 5 minutes, listen." "No." She pocketed her phone. "You listen." "Lena, Dad." The word hit me harder than any sentence so far. She said it like a warning, not a connection. "You'll get the money. It's already set up. It's literally what insurance is for." "Insurance is for accidents," I said, "not for crimes." "They'll never know," she said. "I will." She held my stare 2 beats, 3. Something flickered there again. Young, unsure, the kid who used to check my face to see if the joke had landed. Then that face shut a door. The latch clicked behind her eyes. She turned toward the hallway. "I'll call you next week to arrange pickup," she said. "Cash would be easiest." She took a step, then another. I didn't go after her. I stood where I was and listened to my house sound like someone else's. At the door, she paused, hand on the knob, and aimed one last line like a dart. "Don't make me fix it my way," she said. "It won't be pretty." The knob turned. Cold air rushed in. She stepped onto the porch. The door closed with the hollow sound of a lid. I stood still, phone warm in my hand, the red bar on screen pulsing like a heartbeat. The family photos on the wall watched me not move. The house listened to my breathing. My phone vibrated once. A new voicemail badge appeared. Unknown number. I opened it and put the call on speaker. A male voice, careful and cheerful, filled the room. "Hi, this is Northline calling to confirm we received your after-hours claim message. An assessor can be on site tomorrow after 9. Your deductible is $500. We'll email a checklist tonight." The voicemail ended. The quiet pressed in again. Another vibration. A text from an unknown local number lit the lock screen. Unknown. "We should talk about keeping this private." I stared at the words until the letters swam. I tapped the contact card. No name. The profile photo was blank. The phone buzzed once more before I could type. "Unknown. I can help, but you need to make this easy." I looked at the door Lena had just closed. Then at the window where the SUV sat like a problem with edges. I lowered the phone and felt the shape of the next move assemble itself the way a tool does in your hand. The number texted again, this time with my address. Morning arrived like a summons. I woke before the alarm, stared at the ceiling, and replayed the red bar pulsing on my phone. The house smelled like old coffee. I showered cold to keep my head clear, then laid out what I needed on the kitchen table. The doorbell clip on a USB drive, a folder of photos, my recorded statement, and a page of time-stamped notes in block letters so I wouldn't start improvising. At 8:01 a.m., I called Northline. A rep confirmed the voicemail and read back the basics. We have an assessor window after 9. Your deductible is $500. You'll receive an email with a checklist, photos, police incident number, repair estimates if available. Good, I said. Send it. The unknown number from last night had texted twice more while I slept. Unknown. I can make this go away. Unknown. Discretion matters. I didn't answer. I forwarded the string to my own email and added it to the folder. Paper and teeth. At 9:13 a.m., a silver sedan rolled to the curb. A man in a Northline windbreaker stepped out, late 40s, hair cropped close, tablet under his arm. He glanced up and down the street with the studied neutrality of someone who gets watched for a living. Morning, he said, crossing the walk. I'm Daniel. Hear about the claim. I opened the garage and let him see it all at once. His eyebrows lifted a millimeter, then reset. He flipped open the tablet and started a new entry. Vehicle vandalism? Yes, I said. Discovered last night at 11:42 p.m. He nodded at the phrasing, clean, useful, and began circling the SUV with a practiced pace. Any known suspects? I have a recording of a person in a hoodie with a blunt instrument. Face turned away. I kept my voice even. I will provide that footage along with stills. Okay. He squatted by the rear window and ran a finger along the inner lip of the shattered glass without touching the shards. Rear defroster cut, windshield fully compromised, headlamps smashed, side mirrors damaged. He looked at me. You didn't attempt to move the vehicle? No. Good. Keeps the scene clear. He took close-ups, then wide shots. He asked for the VIN. I read it off the dash, and he repeated it back. The tablet chimed. Okay, based on visible damage and standard rates, preliminary payout estimate falls around $7,300. He tapped his screen again. With your $500 deductible. The numbers landed like a metronome, ticking off beats I could use. Understood, I said. I watched him log the estimate, then hold the camera for a final pass. He kept his tone neutral, but his eyes flicked to my face in a quick check most adjusters do when they suspect a fight. I gave him nothing. We'll need a police incident number, he said, standing. Officer may swing by later. They said morning. Great. When you get that number, reply to the email you just received and attach your media. Our system supports up to 100 megabytes. We can also provide a secure upload link if the video file's larger. It's small, I said. The doorbell system compresses. Okay. He printed a small adhesive tag from a portable printer on his belt and stuck it on the inside of my windshield like a hospital bracelet. Claim ID. Repairs? He asked. I'll wait for your go, I said. I want the officer to see it intact. He nodded, closed the tablet. You should see movement within 48 hours, he said. When he left, the street resumed its watchful silence. I took a breath and felt the next step settle in like a weight onto a hook. I went inside and printed the transcript. It wasn't pretty. The recorder app had captured everything. My questions in clipped, careful lines, her answers clear. The printer laid each page like a card in a trick. I did it. I destroyed your car. You file the claim. $5,000? Cash is easiest. You'll send me the payout. Don't make me fix it my way. I clipped the pages, slid them into a plastic sleeve, then added a cover page with the date and time, the model of phone, the recorder app's version number, and a statement that the recording was made in my home with my device. Paper and teeth. The doorbell buzzed at 10:02. A young officer with a calm face stood on the step, her partner a step back, eyes on the street. Morning. I'm Officer Avery. You reported vehicle vandalism? I walked them through it, without names, without theory. I showed the doorbell clip. I handed over a thumb drive with the videos and stills. Officer Avery watched the loop twice, then looked at me with a small, knowing tilt of her head. "We'll log this and give you an incident number," she said. "If you identify a suspect, you can file a supplemental. In the meantime, don't engage. Let us do the part that's ours." I nodded. "I understand." She handed me a card with the number printed in clean black. I scanned it with my phone and attached the PDF to the email to Northline. The adjuster's reply came back in under a minute. "Received. Thank you." A second later, "Secure link for full resolution file as discussed." Pieces clicked. I sent the full clip and asked for confirmation. Then I dialed a number I hadn't called in months. "Evan Cole," the voice said, warm and clear. "It's Mark," I said. "Hey." In that single syllable, he placed me. Recent enough client, carried weight, not a routine check-in. "What's going on?" "I need to come in," I said. "I have a recording, texts, an incident number, and a claim in process. Someone I love committed criminal damage and is attempting to extort the insurance payout. I want to discuss civil options." There was a small pause while he rearranged his morning. 12:30, he said. "Bring everything." I packed the folder, the USB drives, the printed transcript. I took one last look at the SUV and felt the anger return, clean this time, not the meteor shower of the night before. I locked the door and drove to Evan's office with the steadiness of someone carrying a glass full to the rim. His office was 2 floors up in a building that used to be a bank. Marble lobby, safe deposit vault turned conference room. Evan shook my hand and didn't waste time. He read the transcript like a surgeon reading scans. He made small marks with a pencil. Margins only, never on the words. "Okay," he said after the second pass. "This is good. Painful, but good. You didn't lead. You asked. She volunteered. You mirrored. You captured time. You captured motive. You captured the ask. $5,000. Cash is easiest. Send me the payout." That's extortion if tied to an act, which she provided. You have the doorbell clip as corroboration of method. The insurance process is already in motion with numbers. This is a clean paper trail. I let out air I didn't know I'd held. He paged through the text prints next. The unknown number he annotated with a question mark. "Who's this?" "Don't know yet," I said. "Feels like an advisor." He nodded. "We can subpoena subscriber info later if need be." "What's the move?" I asked. Evan set the pencil down. 2 tracks. Criminal is the state's business. If you want to go that route, you give the detective her name. We hand over the transcript and video, and the state decides. It will blow everything up fast. And civil? Civil puts you in control. He slid a blank document toward me. Demand for restitution and cease and desist. We draft a letter that lays out the act, the admissions, the damages, the Northline estimate, around $7,300, and your deductible, $500. We include a proposed settlement agreement, restitution in installments with clear dates, non-contact outside logistics, mandatory counseling or classes, and a written apology. If she signs, we file it with the court so it has teeth. If she refuses or violates, we file a civil complaint for property damage and intentional infliction, and we seek additional damages and costs. "Serving her papers," I said. "Yes." "She threatened to fix it her way," I said. "Online, public." "Then the letter includes a cease and desist for defamation," Evan said. "And we collect every post, every comment. The truth travels slower, but it wins when it has exhibits. He tapped the transcript. Now you have exhibits. I thought of Lena's face at the door, the tilt of her chin, the tiny flash of the kid she used to be. I could hear Grace's voice in my head. Steady, kind, decisive. Do the right thing and let the rest be noise. Draft it, I said. Evan nodded once. He spun his monitor so I could watch. He typed in short, precise sentences. He pulled exact phrases from the transcript and dropped them into quotes. He inserted the numbers. $500 deductible, $300 estimate. He flagged the unknown number texts as communications by an agent of yours or a third party cooperating with you. He kept the tone firm, not cruel. He ended with a choice and a deadline. Sign the settlement by 5 p.m. Friday, or expect service of process. He printed 2 copies. I read every line. I initialed the places he highlighted in yellow. He slid a carbon paper form for the process service. Name, last known address, physical description. My hand shook once, then steadied. You understand, he said, softer now. This is you setting a boundary, not ending a family. What she does next is hers. I know, I said. It felt like choosing to breathe. We stood. He gathered the packet into an envelope with his letterhead and slid it into a larger one addressed to a process server he liked. Fast, discreet, careful around family dynamics. I'll email you the PDF the moment it's in their hands, he said, and I'll call when service is complete. On my way out, my phone buzzed. North Line. Assessment confirmed. Preliminary payout. Approximately $7,300 less $500 deductible. Awaiting repair selection. Then another buzz. The unknown number again. Unknown. People are already talking. Handle this quietly. I put the phone face down in my pocket and pressed the elevator button like it was the point where the track switches. Back home, I sent Evan the doorbell clip in full resolution and copied the detective's email on the incident update. I put the settlement packet on my kitchen table and stared at it like a photograph that could change. It didn't. At 3:41 p.m., Evan called. Courier picked up, he said. Server is in motion. Given the address you gave, I'd expect contact this evening. How do I prepare? I asked. You don't, he said. You live. Let the system do its part. I stood in the doorway and watched my street be ordinary. A delivery van rolled past. A kid on a bike cut a clean arc and disappeared around the corner. The SUV sat in the driveway like a lesson. At 6:22 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Evan. A single line. Evan, service greenlit. He's at her door now. At 6:27 p.m., Evan's text hit. He's at her door now. I stood in my kitchen with the phone in my hand and the day leaning on my shoulders. Through the front window, the SUV caught the last light and threw it back in a dull scatter. Another text, 30 seconds later, served. She took the packet. No incident. I exhaled and didn't trust the calm. With Lena, the quiet before the turn was always the part that stung. The first sign arrived as a vibration against my palm, my phone lighting up with a notification that wasn't from Evan or the insurer. Lena Hale has started a live video. I didn't tap it. I set the phone face down on the table like it might bite. Through the glass, I saw the reflection of my own face go still. A minute passed, then another. A car door thunked outside. Voices blurred, then sharpened. I opened the door to the sound of my name shaped by a crowd that wasn't there. It took a second to realize what I was hearing was a chorus of digital comments read aloud by Lena's friend. Mark Hale, the friend announced to a phone held high, refuses to help his own daughter. Lena stood at the end of my walkway, hoodie up, packet from Evan in her left hand, her right hand lifting her phone at a flattering angle. The red live tag in the corner glowed like a wound. Her face was arranged into a practiced wince, wounded but brave. I stepped onto the porch. The air was cool and tasted like iron. Tom and Linda Baker's porch light flicked on across the street. Blinds shifted. 2 more porch lights pinged alive up the block. "Turn that off," I said, keeping my voice even. "We're just talking," her friend said, bright and innocent. "Transparency." Lena kept her eyes on the phone's screen until the viewer count ticked up, then looked at me as if surprised to see an actual person. "This is my father," she said to her audience, not to me. "He just sent a stranger to my apartment to threaten me with legal papers instead of helping me like a real parent would." "You were served a settlement offer," I said, not quite to her and not quite to the camera. "It lays out restitution, counseling, and boundaries. It's an alternative to court." "You hear that?" she asked her viewers. "Boundaries?" She almost smiled. He loves words that make him sound reasonable. The friend swung the phone to catch my face. I stayed still. Somewhere a dog barked twice and stopped. "Please leave my property," I said. "You can call my attorney with questions." "You can give me the money you promised," she said, smooth as a sales pitch. I promised nothing. She held up Evan's envelope like a trophy. "He thinks this scares me," she told the live. "He thinks paper is power." "Paper is accountability," I said. "Wow," the friend breathed, as if tasting the word. "That's a good line." I didn't bother to answer. Over Lena's shoulder, I saw a black compact car ease to the curb, hazard lights blinking. A man in a gray windbreaker climbed out with the weary confidence of someone who spends his life being where he shouldn't have to be. He held up his hands, palms out. "Evening," he said mildly. "Rick Nolan." Uncle Rick. Not my brother, not by blood. Grace's best friend since college, honorary uncle at birthdays, the guy who could fix a garbage disposal with a butter knife and a smile. I hadn't seen him in months. He took in the phones, the neighbors, the ruined SUV, and slid into a role like it was a jacket. "Let's keep this private," he said, voice pitched for calm. "No need to embarrass anybody." Lena's chin tilted. "I invited you." "I know." He held my eyes, then hers. "Which is why, sweetheart, we're going to put the cameras down, and we're going to step inside, and we're going to find a way to make this not a neighborhood circus." "Inside?" I said. "No." Rick gave me the smallest shake of the head. Not defiance, a plea. "We all want this to cool down," he said. "Keep it off the internet." "It's already on the internet," I said. He looked at Lena's phone. The viewer count climbed again. "Then let's not feed it," he said. For a beat, the 3 of us stood in a triangle. The live stream caught all the geometry and fed it to hundreds of people who knew none of us. "5 minutes," Rick said to me, lowering his voice. "Kitchen table. I'll get the phone off." "I won't be ambushed in my house," I said. "I'm here," he said. "Nothing crazy's going to happen with me in the room." Which was maybe the problem. The last time Rick mediated, I'd walked away carrying the whole cost with a smile because he'd framed it as love. "No," I said again, more gently. "Not tonight." He held the line one more second, then let it go. "Okay," he said. "Then we talk here." Lena sighed theatrically. "Dad won't even let me in the house," she told the live. He changed. I kept my gaze on Rick. "You texted me last night," I said. "Unknown number. We should talk about keeping this private." "Was that you?" Rick's eyebrows did a flicker. Lena's friend's phone dipped, then rose as if the hand holding it had to remember its job. My number's not unknown, Rick said easily. But yeah, I reached out. I didn't want this to get ugly. Too late, I said. Lena stepped forward, just enough to make the camera reframe her. Here's what's going to happen, she said. You're going to stop with the legal threats. You're going to send me the payout when it lands. And you're going to stop trying to control me with boundaries like I'm a dog. Rick winced at the last word. Lena, you asked me to come, she snapped without taking her eyes off me. Then she pitched her voice gentle. Dad, please don't make me fix it my way. The algorithm loves that tone. The viewer count pinged again. You mean lie? I said. I mean tell the truth with context, she said smoothly. Like how you screamed at me and grabbed my arm when I asked for help last month. I let silence sit there, cold and heavy. Tom's porch light brightened a notch, automatic timer hitting its next step. Linda appeared behind him, arms folded, face drawn in sympathy. For whom, it didn't matter. The pose itself played. You and I both know what happened last month, I said. And we both know there's a doorbell camera. Lena's smile thinned. Of course you're recording us, she said to the live. He always is. Doorbell camera points at the street, I said. Protects you too. Rick lifted both hands again. Okay, he said, mediator cadence back. Let's try another tack. Mark, you want accountability. Lena, you want relief. What if we agree, just agree, to sit down with a neutral party this week? Church counselor, maybe. Keep the lawyers paused. Keep the internet off. No one admits fault on camera. We pick a plan that saves face. Relief looks like restitution, I said. And safety looks like distance. That's the plan. Lena's eyes flared. Distance, she said, like the word tasted like a dare. From your own daughter? From anyone who breaks things and then asks to be paid for it, I said. She stared past me into the house at the gallery of our old lives. For a heartbeat, her face lost its angles and became the kid who used to lean on my shoulder in checkout lines, bored and affectionate. Then the door shut behind her eyes again. You always wanted a perfect family photo, she said to the live. Now you have a perfect boundary instead. Rick shifted his weight. Lena. She stepped back, a small choreographed retreat that kept her in frame. 5 p.m. Friday, she said. Cash, or I fix it my way. Service has been completed, I said evenly. If you contact me again for money, contact my lawyer instead. She smiled like she'd been waiting for that line. Hear that? She asked her audience. He wants the state in our living room. Lena, Rick said, a warning now. Enough. She cut her eyes at him. Whose side are you on? The side where this doesn't burn down your life, he said. She rolled her shoulder, a shrug that tried to look careless and landed on brittle. Take your boundaries and have a nice night, she said to me. To the live, thanks for listening. Be kind to yourselves. She tapped the screen. The red tag disappeared. For a beautiful, dangerous second, the air felt like it might steady. Then my phone buzzed in my hand. A new notification slid onto the lock screen. You've been tagged in a post. Lena's friend was already tapping, thumbs like a sewing machine. Something uploaded. The phone hummed again. Another notification. Video posted. When boundaries become abuse. I didn't open it. I didn't have to. I knew the shape. 20 seconds clipped from 2 hours. My voice without my face. A cut from "don't do that" to "I will," without the sentences in between. A thumbnail in which my hand looks like it's reaching, not emphatically staying at my side. I delete it, I said to Lena, and heard the exhaustion in my own voice. She looked at me with something like pity. You can't erase the truth, she said, and slid the envelope back under her arm like it didn't weigh a pound. Rick rubbed his jaw, thinking fast. Mark, send me the link, he said. I'll ask her to take it down. She won't, I said. Then I'll ask the friend, he said. Half those posts pop because they're sloppy. Maybe we can... My phone buzzed again. A third notification stacked itself on the other two. HOA Community Board. Emergency topic. Police at Hales, what happened? Across the street, Tom's door opened half a foot and stopped. A neighbor 2 houses down stepped onto his porch with a bowl and a spoon, like this was a show. I felt the ache in my jaw settle into something clean and hard. I turned my phone so both of them could see the screen. Here's what happens next, I said. Any post stays up, it gets preserved with a timestamp. Any accusation gets a letter. Every cut clip gets a full clip attached. And in the morning, the detective gets names. Lena's eyes flicked, calculating. She wasn't afraid, not yet, but something in her appraiser's gaze adjusted. Value, risk, return. See you Friday, she said, and turned away with the packet still tucked under her arm like proof of a dare. Rick watched her go. I'll call you, he said to me low. Tonight. Call Evan, I said. He nodded once, then followed Lena to the curb. The live was over, but the comments were just beginning. My phone stacked them into a little tower at the top of the screen. I could feel the neighborhood thread thickening like weather. The SUV sat in my driveway, not moving, a gravity well for drama and dust. I stepped back inside and shut the door. The house's quiet wasn't peaceful. It was the kind of silence that holds its breath for the next knock. The knock came 3 minutes later. 2 quick raps. Professional. Through the pane, a woman in a blue blazer waited with a folder, polite smile fixed in place. Mr. Hale? She said when I opened. I'm with the Homeowners Association. We've had some concerns raised. Could we have a quick word before tonight's emergency agenda? My phone buzzed again. Evan calling, and on the screen behind his name, the preview of Lena's video rolled without sound. My face paused mid-syllable, captioned what he really said. Evan's call cut through the HOA rep's careful smile. Pick up, he texted. Put me on speaker. I held up a finger to the woman in the blazer. 1 minute. Then I answered and tapped speaker. Mr. Hale, Evan said, genial and edged. Evening. I've seen the post. We've preserved it. We've issued a takedown request to the platform, and I've added a defamation clause to the settlement. Also, Northline just pushed the claim from preliminary to finalized. Payout, $7,500. They fast-tracked due to comprehensive coverage and the recorded evidence. The HOA rep's eyebrows lifted. Oh. Congratulations, Evan said. You now have a deposit receipt to reference as part of restitution. Bring any board concerns to my office tomorrow at noon. I'll take them. Mr. Hale, don't discuss details on the porch. I ended the call. The rep cleared her throat. We're concerned about noise and police presence, she said, and public posts naming the association. I've retained counsel, I said. He'll meet you tomorrow at noon. Relief washed over her face. She could pass the heat. Thank you. She handed me a flyer about civility and complaint channels, then retreated down the path like someone leaving a backyard with a skittish dog. Inside, I printed the email from Northline. Final payout, $7,500. Claim ID, ACH confirmation. I folded the page into the growing packet on my table and taped a deposit receipt from my bank on top. Timestamp, last 4 digits, balance swing. Paper and teeth. Evan texted a place for morning, neutral ground, conference room in the old bank building. 10 a.m., he added. She'll come if Rick convinces her. It's a chance to keep it private. Expect the friend. We keep it short, specific, enforceable. I slept like a man under an alarm. The conference room had once been a vault. Smooth concrete. Thick door opened to the hall like a yawning steel moon. Evan laid out a simple table. 3 copies of the settlement agreement, signature tabs flagged, a printed copy of Lena's post with a blue sticky that read, "Preserve," the transcript, and the doorbell stills. Lena arrived at 10:06 with her hood down and her advisor in tow, the same friend from last night, eyeliner sharp enough to count as an argument. Rick followed, hands open, mediator face already on. Evan stood, smiled hello without giving anyone the ground. "Thanks for coming," he said. Phones off, on the table, face down. Lena's friend made a show of reluctance, then did it. Rick did it without prompting. Lena slid her phone onto the wood inch by inch like testing ice. Evan nodded to me. "Mark?" I placed my phone face down next to hers and kept my eyes on the paper, not the people. "Here's how this works," Evan said. 10 minutes. We walk through the agreement. Any questions you ask. If you sign, we file it with the court this afternoon so it has teeth. If you don't, we proceed to civil complaint, and I contact the detective with full names. No one gets surprised. Lena's friend crossed her arms. "You can't threaten her." "That's not a threat," Evan said pleasantly. "It's a calendar." He slid the agreement toward Lena. "This is straightforward. You admit responsibility for property damage as defined by the law. Language mirrors your own words in the attached transcript. You agree to restitution. Total $7,500 paid in installments over 8 months. He tapped the ACH confirmation. Plus $500 covering the deductible, plus fees associated with the process server. You agree to remove any social media posts referencing the incident and to refrain from future defamation. You agree to a boundaries clause. No uninvited visits to Mr. Hale's home. Communications limited to logistics via email. You agree to complete a 6-week counseling program, financial responsibility, and conflict resolution through a certified provider. Finally, you sign a written apology acknowledging the harm, not just the cost. He slid a second page forward. Exhibit A, payment schedule, dates in a clean column. The first line, $1,000 due on or before Friday, 5 p.m. Next line, $1,000 on the 1st of next month, and so on through 8 months, with a $500 line at the end for the deductible. Late fees accrue, Evan said. Miss 2, the full amount accelerates. It's enforceable. Lena scanned the first page with practiced boredom, then stopped at the numbers. 7,500? She said, as if hearing them for the first time. Final payout, Evan said. Your father will apply it to repair costs you caused. You will repay him. That's how accountability works. She looked up at me, eyes bright with a dare. Or you could just give it to me and we'd be done. We'd be done is what you said on my porch, I said. This is done. You pay it back. You stop. We heal. Her laugh was a tiny shard. Heal, she said, tasting the word like something spoiled. Rick leaned an elbow on the table. Lena, he said gently, this is fair. You signed worse lease terms on a studio apartment with peeling paint. This is your dad, not a landlord from Craigslist. Her friend kicked him under the table with her eyes. You don't have to sign anything, she told Lena. This is coercion. Evan's smile didn't move. Coercion would be me dangling a false charge to force a signature. I'm not dangling anything. I'm naming the options. You already confessed on record. This is compassion with a notary. Lena's silence lengthened into a performance. She flipped to the back page and found the signature line. Her finger hovered, then veered to the defamation paragraph. "I'll remove last night's video," she said, "but I'm not apologizing for telling my story." "Your story accused him of abuse," Evan said. "The doorbell camera says otherwise." Her jaw set. "He grabbed my arm last month." "In the clip," Evan said, sliding a still across the table. "You took his keys off the hook while he was on a call. He reached to take them back. You pulled away. He let go. And then you left. No grab, no squeeze, no bruise. You've told a version that gets clicks and puts a target on your father's face in his own neighborhood." She didn't look at the photo. She looked at me. "You sent a stranger to my door with papers like I'm a criminal." "You committed a crime," I said, "and then you tried to get paid for it." "Tried?" She smiled small. "You just told the internet you got 7.5. Evan didn't allow the pivot. "Read the counseling clause," he told her. "That's the only line I'll negotiate on. If you want a different provider, fine. If you want an online course to cover the first 2 weeks, fine. Everything else stands." "Why would I pay him when insurance already did?" she asked, voice cool as an ad. "Because you are the reason the money exists," I said. "It's not a prize, it's a repair." She pushed the paper back like it had grazed her skin. "No." Rick rubbed his face. "Lena." I said no. She pointed at the first line. "Admit responsibility? In writing?" She laughed again. "You think I'm stupid?" Evan kept his tone gentle. "I think you're tired of running spins. This is a clean stop. You sign, you pay, you take the posts down. You get your classes done. You breathe. In a year, you and your father can see each other without an attorney at the edge of the room." "Or," her friend said brightly, "we counter. You know, for emotional distress from his harassment. He's already weaponizing his HOA. He's got the church gossiping. He's trying to bankrupt you with legal fees." Evan turned to the friend like a teacher explaining gravity. "If you file a counterclaim, you'll need an affidavit under oath. And because you filmed and posted an edited clip, your credibility becomes Exhibit A against you. I am not your lawyer. I cannot give you advice. But I can tell you what happens in discovery when people put a story online and then sit in a chair under oath." The friend's mouth closed on a shape that didn't have words yet. Lena tapped the page with one nail. "Take out admit responsibility." "No," Evan said. "That line protects him if this falls apart." "Then I won't sign." Evan didn't blink. "Okay," he said, and slid a new document from his folder. "Then this is your next piece of paper. It's a civil complaint. Property damage, intentional infliction, defamation, and a motion for a temporary restraining order to keep you from stepping on his porch or tagging him online while the case proceeds. It includes this number." He tapped the top corner. $10,000 in damages and fees to start, which will grow if you keep at the posts. You'll be served again by end of day. Rick's hand lifted like he could slow the weather. "Hang on. Hang on." "Rick," Evan said without looking at him, "you called me last night to say you didn't want this to burn down her life. This is the only door with the fire exit sign over it." Silence expanded. The vault held it like a bell holds a note. Lena broke first. "I'll do the counseling," she said. "I'll take the posts down. I'll agree to not going to the house." Her eyes were steady on me now. No flair, just blade. But I'm not paying you 7.5. It's restitution, I said, not tribute. I'm not paying you for using me to get a payout, she said. Rick closed his eyes for 2 beats. That's not what happened, he said. It's what I'm saying happened, she said. Evan slid the agreement back to her with a pen. You don't have to sign today, he said. You can think. But at 5 p.m. Friday, we stop offering this. After that, we file. She looked at the pen like it insulted her. She pushed her chair back with a careful scrape and stood. We're done, she said. Her friend stood too, triumphant on principle. Rick remained seated, eyes on the table, jaw working a stubborn problem. Lena, he said quietly, pay the man back. You don't have to like it. You just have to stop making it worse. She looked at him like he'd switched languages. You're supposed to be on my side. I am, he said. This is the side where you still have a future you recognize. She held his stare a second longer than comfort, then looked at me. Cash. Friday, she said. Last chance. Payment goes the other direction, I said. She gave me the kind of smile people give strangers in customer service when they're about to file a complaint. I'll fix it my way, she said softly, so only I and the vault heard. Don't, I said. She turned on her heel and walked out. Her friend followed, throwing a line over her shoulder. You'll hear from us. Rick gathered his phone, hesitated, put it back, and finally met my eyes. I'll try again, he said. Call Evan, I said. He nodded once, sad and old, and went after her. The vault door hummed in the hinge. Evan exhaled through his nose and stacked the papers into 2 neat piles. If signed and file next. He slid the deposit receipt to the top of the first, the civil complaint to the second. You did well, he said. I feel like I just lost a lung. That's what boundaries feel like the first month, he said. He texted the process server 3 words, hold, file Friday. Then he circled the defamation sticky and wrote in neat block letters, preserve all. On the sidewalk outside, a car door slammed. Raised voices faded down the block. My phone buzzed. A new post notification, then another. When I opened one, it spun and errored. The platform had pulled it after our takedown request and 24 neighbor reports. A small win, not a victory, but something. Evan slid the agreement into an envelope with a bright tab. If she calls before Friday and says yes, we'll meet at a notary. If she doesn't, we file, I said. We file, he said, and we keep the posts in a folder with timestamps. He walked me to the elevator. Eat, he said as the doors opened. Sleep. Turn your phone face down for an hour. Call a friend who remembers the good parts and won't ask for the ugly ones. I nodded. Gee, thank you. Paper and teeth, he said, and the doors slid shut. At home, I taped the deposit receipt to the fridge like a weird refrigerator art project. Proof that the world still had shapes. I put the unsigned agreement in the drawer where Grace used to keep school permission slips. The doorbell chimed. A delivery box leaned on the mat. Headlight assemblies, ordered on rush. 1 concrete step toward whole. At 4:38 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The same area code as before. Unknown. You made a mistake. Unknown. Last chance to keep this quiet. I didn't answer. I forwarded the texts to Evan and labeled the thread Agent. Then I set my phone face down and went to the sink to wash a coffee mug I didn't remember using. 10 minutes later, the door rattled. Quick, testing, like fingers trying to decide if a lock respected them. I froze. then moved slow to the front window and stood to the side where the living room was a mirror. A figure in a hoodie stood on my porch, face tilted just enough that the doorbell camera would catch only a shadow. They reached for the knob again. I started recording on my phone and hit the doorbell intercom. "Leave," I said, voice even. "You're on camera." The figure flinched, then leaned toward the lens and whispered something I couldn't make out. They lowered a hand toward something in their waistband, glanced at the street, and stepped off the porch as if they owned the steps. They moved to the driveway, reached for the SUV's door, and pulled out my spare key. I hit save on the recording before I breathed. The figure in the hoodie walked like they knew the dimensions of my porch, like they'd paced them once already. They stepped to the driveway, tugged at the SUV's handle, and pulled something silver from the seam where door met panel. A key. My spare. The one I'd tucked in a magnetic box behind the wheel well for emergencies and forgotten like people forget that old maps can still get you lost. "Leave," I said again into the doorbell intercom. "You're on camera." The hood turned just enough that the lens caught a cheekbone and a slice of mouth. Then the figure pocketed the key and moved off the property at a casual angle. The kind of casual that wants to be read as innocence. I called the non-emergency line, gave the incident number, added attempted entry and tampering, and sent the clip to Officer Avery with the subject line, "Spare key taken, visible on video." Then I walked the perimeter in a tight, methodical loop like an animal checking the edges of its cage. Backlatch, locked. Garage, down. Rear windows, secure. I ordered a mobile locksmith on Rush, texted Evan the clip, and labeled a new folder. Tampering 1, key. By noon, the rumors were ahead of me. A deacon from church texted a long paragraph about prayerfully considering both sides and public perception. A neighbor DM'd me a screenshot of the HOA thread with my name in 4 different fonts. Some kind, some sharp, most hungry. Someone had posted a still from last night's live, a frame that made my half-raised hand look like a threat instead of what it was. Another someone had added a caption, "Boundaries or bullying, you decide." Northline called. "Mr. Hale, quick heads up," the rep said in a careful tone. "We received an anonymous tip this morning alleging you staged the damage for a payout." The room tilted a half degree. "From whom?" I said. "They didn't identify," she said. "We're required to note and log. Given your doorbell footage, police report, assessor's documentation, and the fact that funds already cleared, this goes into the not credible pile unless new info appears. But I wanted you to know." "Thank you," I said. The bad taste in my mouth wasn't shock. It was recognition. I forwarded the Northline call summary to Evan and added a note in the paper trail. Anonymous fraud tip logged, 12:14 p.m. The locksmith arrived 20 minutes later. He was young and brisk and spoke in the soothing tone of someone who's used to being called after a break. He rekeyed the front and back doors, then the deadbolt on the garage. He knelt in my driveway with a tiny screwdriver and popped the SUV's old locks like they were toys. "New cores?" he said, "and ditch the magnetic box." "I already did," I said. He handed me a small packet of keys. "2 sets," he said. "One for you, one for the person you trust most." He looked at my face and didn't add a joke. I paid, logged the receipt, and texted Evan. "House and car rekeyed. Invoice saved." He replied with a thumbs up and a line. "Detective wants the tampering clip. You okay if I send?" I typed yes and added the detective to the email thread. At 3:02 p.m., Rick called. I let it ring once, twice, then took it. Before you say anything, he said, I'm sorry about last night. I thought I could talk her down. I can't. I know, I said. She's with the friend, he said. The friend is oxygen to this kind of fire. I've asked her to leave twice, she laughs. Tell the friend discovery is colder than she thinks, I said. Tell her oath is not a filter she controls. I did, he said. I also told Lena to sign. She threw betrayal at me like a dish. We were quiet a beat. You going to the HOA thing? He asked. It's at 6, I said. I'll be there, he said. I can at least say, out loud, that you're not a monster. Appreciated, I said, and ended the call before the gratitude could wobble into old grief. By late afternoon, the thread on the HOA board had mutated from what happened to what should be allowed. A committee chair posted an emergency agenda, decibel limits, police presence protocol, tone on community platforms. The subtext wasn't subtle. We will police feelings if we cannot police facts. At 5:11 p.m., a voicemail landed from a blocked number. The transcription read like it had been chewed by dull teeth. Hey, Mark, word is you're cashing out on this little accident? That's insurance fraud unless, there was a real vandal. I can call that in, too. Would be a shame if Northline had questions. Handle this privately, like with cash, before it gets messy. I played it twice to hear the timbre. Not Rick. Not a kid. A man, mid-30s to 40, putting on a reasonable coat over a shake in his voice. I forwarded it to Evan and to the detective and labeled it Agent. Voicemail number 2. Fraud threat. Then I printed the transcript and stapled it to the texts. At 5:47 p.m., I dressed like armor. Clean shirt, quiet shoes, the face you wear to funerals and custody hearings. I slid the tablet with the exhibits into a tote. The sun was low enough to make everything look nicer than it was. As I locked the door, Tom called across the street. You heading to the meeting? Yeah, I said. People are, He flapped a hand, imitating noise. For what it's worth, we told 2 different folks to take down their hot takes and go touch grass. Thank you, I said. He looked relieved to be thanked for something. The HOA conference room smelled like coffee, dry erase marker, and tension. Folding chairs faced a long table with name placards and a bowl of mints. The board president, a woman who had once coordinated the block Halloween parade with military precision, called the meeting to order with a click of her pen. We have 3 items, she said, voice pitched to carry over the murmur. Noise and police presence rules, online conduct, and a specific concern raised about a recent incident on Maple Court. Heads turned. The room tilted toward me and then away like a tide. I raised my hand. I'll keep it brief, I said when she nodded to me. I walked to the front with the tote and placed 3 things on the table. A printed still of the hoodie tampering, the transcript clip where Lena said, I destroyed your car, and the locksmith invoice. I won't litigate my life here, I said. This is what matters to this room. There was a crime. I reported it. I have evidence. I'm handling it in court, not on the internet. I will not discuss family specifics or respond to rumors. If you have questions about safety, I'm here for those. If you have questions about my character, ask the people who've borrowed my ladder and eaten my wife's chili in this clubhouse after her funeral. A small noise went through the chairs, the kind that happens when people remember they were there for something good. A man in a golf shirt raised his hand. Are the police going to be at your house again? Probably, I said, because I'll call them if anyone comes onto my property to intimidate me. A woman with a careful bob asked, Are you going to sue the HOA? No, I said. I'm going to ask that you enforce your own platform rules about defamation and edited videos. The board president nodded like she'd been waiting for a thing she could do. We've already removed 2 posts, she said, and we'll put a moratorium on incident speculation threads. Another hand, arms crossed so tight the knuckles were white. Did you grab her? The woman asked, daring me to say no. I held her stare for 2 seconds, then slid the still from the doorbell camera across the table to the board president instead of to the questioner. No, I said. And the video shows that. If the detective decides to release that clip publicly, she will. Until then, I won't. I won't audition truth for people who prefer the trailer. Rick stood from 3 rows back. I'm Uncle Rick, he said to the room like he was announcing a weather change. I've known Mark for 15 years. He's not perfect. Neither am I. Neither is the kid I love like blood. But this neighbor right here is handling a nightmare the way adults are supposed to. Paperwork, police, lawyers. If you're tempted to turn it into content, don't. It wasn't a speech that wins awards, but it shifted the air a degree. The president scribbled online policy in force on her agenda and looked relieved to be writing something that sounded like control. A phone buzzed in the quiet. My phone. I checked the screen and felt my stomach drop and settle like a boat over a wave. Northline SIU, Special Investigations Unit. I stepped back from the table and answered, voice low. Mr. Hale, the caller said, professional neutral. We're required to tell you when we receive a formal allegation. A party identifying herself as a witness has submitted a written statement alleging you staged the damage. She attached a clip purporting to show you coaching your daughter. We've added it to your file. Send me a copy, I said. We can't share their submission, he said, but we can confirm receipt. We also note you provided the full-length doorbell video. The clip attached to their allegation appears to be the same scene, shortened. Your claim remains closed and paid. We're not clawing anything back. We simply log. Understood, I said. I hung up and texted Evan. SIU got formal allegation plus edited clip. Claim stays paid. He replied, good, keep the call log. The board wrapped the agenda with a promise to circulate guidelines for public discourse. Like a recipe for decency could be laminated. People lined up to shake my hand, or to avoid it. A man I barely knew leaned in and whispered, for what it's worth, my brother's kid went sideways for a year. It got better. I nodded like those words could fit anywhere. Outside, dusk made the street look forgiving. Rick walked beside me to the curb. She filed something, he said without preface. Her friend bragged about mailing papers of her own, I don't know what. Protection order? Counterclaim? The friend uses words like darts and hopes one hits a heart. Evan will see it when it lands, I said. Rick looked tired enough to stop. You okay? No, I said, but I'm steady. He squeezed my shoulder once like men do when they know a hug would break something. At home, the house smelled like lemon cleaner from the locksmith's hands. I put the exhibits back in their folder, logged the HOA minutes link, and set an 8 a.m. alarm titled Call Evan, File Friday. The doorbell pinged with a new motion alert. I checked the feed. It was only Tom bringing my trash bin up from the curb. The normal hurt in a good way. At 9:06 p.m., my voicemail pinged again. Lena's voice poured into the room in a tone I hadn't heard since she was 10 and wanted a sleepover. Bright, persuasive, weaponized. Hey, Dad. People keep sending me notes about fraud. Seems like a mess. You don't want that. You know what fixes mess? Cash. You give me the $7,500, and I will go on live right now and say it was all a misunderstanding, that you and I are good, that nobody needs to bother Northline. Otherwise, you know how fast these things spread. Love you. I didn't throw the phone. I forwarded the audio to Evan and the detective, flagged it voicemail number 3, offer to clear for cash, and set my phone face down so hard the case clicked. I stood at the sink, hands braced, and watched the window turn into a mirror. The reflection made the kitchen look like a set, all props and light. I thought of the neighbor's whisper. It got better, and filed it under future where I couldn't reach it yet. The night thinned. I made a list, because lists are how you keep your brain from running its own live stream. AM. Call Evan. File civil if no signature. Send detective tampering clip timestamps. Order dash cam for replacement vehicle. Church. Email pastor, gossip policy. Decline to meet both sides. Revisit counseling list. For me. My phone buzzed on the counter like a thing impatient to be used. A new email slid into the notifications. Clerk of court. Notice of filing. Subject line, defendant's counter-complaint and motion. I opened it. The PDF loaded like a curtain lifting, her name on top. My name under defendant. The words below did the thing words do when they're used wrong. They made a shape I recognized and turned it into a threat. Evan called as I reached the second page. She filed, he said. Sit tight. I'm drafting our answer and the motion for fees. Tomorrow, we move. I didn't sleep so much as hold my place in the dark. At 7:58 a.m., Evan's email landed with the steady thump of a hammer on a nail. Answer plus motion to strike plus sanctions. He'd annotated the PDF for me like a teacher. Denies PP 49 abuse allegations. Attached doorbell transcript. Affirmative defenses, truth, consent, recording an own home, litigation privilege, exhibits, settlement draft, $7,500 deposit receipt, $500 deductible, HOA takedown confirmations, unknown, agent, texts plus voicemail threats. His subject line ended with, filing 9:30 a.m., TRO request included. I showered, put on the clean shirt version of yesterday, and drove to the courthouse with the envelope that had become a part of my arm. The building smelled like old paper and floor wax. Evan met me outside the clerk's window with a travel mug and a "we're fine" nod. He wore a suit the color of a cool morning and a tie that didn't ask for attention. She filed a counter-complaint for emotional distress and a motion to restrain, he said, flipping through his copy. The affidavit leans on the edited clip and community fear. She also asks for $10,000 in damages. He tapped the number. That's a wish list, not a fact. Can you get the edited clip? I asked. In discovery, he said. For now, the clerk already has our exhibits. Truth is stubborn. He slid our stack across the counter. The clerk stamped each page with a calm ka-chunk that felt like someone nailing siding onto a house that would not blow down. She handed us a case number, a tentative courtroom assignment, and a single-sheet order with clean black letters. Hearing on temporary restraining order, Monday, 9 a.m. Calendared, Evan said. Good. It forces clarity. We walked to the sheriff's office on the first floor. Evan handed over the service packets with the addresses I'd given him. The deputy behind the glass glanced at the names, made a note, and said, "We'll try residence and workplace. If she dodges, we come back with nail and mail." "Do it politely," Evan said. "Family matter." The deputy's smile said he'd seen too many versions to be surprised by ours. "Always," he said. Back in the hallway, Evan leaned a shoulder against the marble and looked tired in a way he never showed in conference rooms. You okay? I keep thinking there's a version where she signs, and we never stand under fluorescent lights, I said. There might still be, he said. Crisis has a way of getting boring for people who feed on it. We stepped out into a morning that smelled like rain that wouldn't arrive. On my phone, a new email blinked from clerk, service confirmation. The server had handed the packet to Lena in the lobby of a co-working space she favored. Signature scribble, date, time. An attachment showed a photo of the back of her hoodie as she walked away. Evan texted, "Hearing stands. TRO request in." Then, "Do not respond to anything direct from her or the friend. Everything goes to me." I typed understood and set my phone to send him every incoming with 3 taps. At noon, the detective called. "We've added the tampering clip and the voicemail to your file," she said. "An officer will swing by around 4 to take a supplemental. You're doing everything right. Stay boring." I stayed boring with a vengeance. I scanned receipts. I labeled folders. I ate a sandwich I couldn't taste and drank water like a prescription. I texted Pastor Elaine a short note. "Appreciate prayers. No joint meeting. Legal in motion." She replied with a heart and "We'll keep gossip off the bulletin," a sentence that deserved a plaque. At 2:13 p.m., my phone lit with 3 new messages in swift succession. "Lena, you did this to me." "Lena, you want to see me in court? Fine, you'll get a show." "Lena, I'll take the car if you won't use it." I didn't respond. I forwarded them to Evan. He replied, "Good. Keep not responding." Then, 20 minutes later, he called. "She filed a supplement to her motion," he said, almost amused. "A screenshot of your HOA post asking them to remove defamation, offered as proof that you're controlling the narrative." Judges love that sentence. "What do judges do with it?" I asked. "Nothing," he said. "They look at the actual harm and the actual evidence." At 3:41 p.m., Officer Avery knocked, exactly on time, like people do when they know you need someone to be what they say. I handed her the new texts, the voicemail transcript, a printout of the SIU call log, and a thumb drive labeled "Tampering 1, Key." "We'll add a patrol pass tonight," she said. "Light presence. Sometimes a cruiser rolling by is enough to persuade." "Thank you," I said. It felt like admitting I needed bedtime checked. At 4:09 p.m., Evan forwarded a scheduling email. TRO hearing confirmed for Monday, 9:00 a.m., courtroom 406. Civil case management set for the following Thursday. He added, "We'll prep Sunday, 3 p.m., my office. Bring calm." I texted, "I'll bring paper, you bring teeth." He sent a laughing emoji and a thumbs up, which in his language was a hug. I set alarms like sandbags. Sunday 3, prep, Monday 8, court, Friday 5, deadline, no signature, mo file. Even though we'd already filed. The habit mattered. It made the future have edges. At 5:02 p.m., a text from Rick. "She's rattled. The friend is pouring gas. I'm trying to get her to go quiet through the weekend." I typed, "Thank you." I meant, I wish we could go back to before the word boundary meant goodbye. A Northline email pinged at 5:19 p.m. "Claim closed. Final confirmation." I printed it and stuck it behind the deposit receipt like a matched set. At 6:03 p.m., a delivery driver dropped a small box, dash cam. I read the manual like it was scripture and mounted it carefully, cable tucked, angle right. The red light winked alive. A thing that would remember when I could not. Dusk gathered. The street did the evening shuffle of sprinklers and stroller loops. My doorbell chimed. A neighbor girl selling school fundraiser candles at the wrong time to the wrong house. I bought 2 anyway and sent her away with a smile I hoped I meant. At 8:11 p.m., my phone buzzed with a new email. Clerk, notice of ex parte request. Lena's lawyer, she had one now, or had borrowed one for a letterhead, had filed a last-minute request to move the TRO hearing up to Saturday, citing ongoing fear and escalating behavior. Evan typed back before I finished reading, denied. Monday stands, then, see, paper drama. I stood at the sink, looking at the driveway darken. The SUV's reshaped lines turned the reflected sky into strange geometry. The dash cam's tiny eye kept vigil. I told myself to breathe. At 9:03 p.m., my phone lit again. Lena. No text. A call. I watched it ring out and felt the part of me that still wanted to be a father twitch like a nerve under a bruise. The voicemail landed a minute later. I put it on speaker and stood in the doorway so the air could carry it away. "Dad," she said, and for the first time in days it sounded like the word and not the weapon. "You don't have to do this. You can stop right now. Give me the payout. I'll tell everyone it was a misunderstanding. I'll make it go away. Last chance." A breath. "Don't make me come get what's mine." I forwarded it to Evan and the detective, labeled voicemail Grafor, come get what's mine, and added the timestamp to my notes. Then I locked the doors twice and checked the windows like a prayer. At 10:12 p.m., the doorbell pinged. Motion. A shape at the edge of the frame. Hoodie again. Same height. Same deliberate pace. They didn't come to the porch this time. They moved to the driveway, looked up and down the street, and tested the SUV's door like they knew what they wanted. The dashcam woke with a small LED blink. The figure noticed, hesitated, then leaned into the driver's side. The camera caught a face at last. A sharp angle of cheek, a flash of eyeliner. Not Lena. The friend. She grinned at her reflection like she'd been dared by a mirror. She reached into her pocket and held up a key. My key. She looked straight at the dash cam and mouthed something I didn't need sound to understand. Mine. I hit the doorbell intercom. "Police are en route," I said, and tapped 911 with the same finger. The friend flinched, hissed a laugh like a cat, and slid the key into the lock, forgetting that I'd had them all changed. The key stuck. She yanked, panicked, then bolted toward the street. Red recording lights blinked from 2 angles at once. My phone timer ticked in the corner. Somewhere across the street. A neighbor's shade lifted. Witness. I gave the dispatcher my address and the words that matter. Restraining order hearing set for Monday. Prior vandalism. Attempted entry. Key in hand. I have video. She told me to stay inside. I did. 2 minutes later, a cruiser rolled quiet onto the block. The friend was gone, melting into dark like a lesson you don't want to learn twice. The officer checked the locks, took my statement, and watched the clip on my tablet twice. Then again. "Good camera," he said. "Redundancy," I said. "I'm learning." He nodded. "We'll file this as tampering and attempted entry. The detective will add it to Monday's packet." When he left, the house settled on its foundation with a small sound like a back releasing. I stood in the living room and stared at the door until the wood looked like a map. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from a number I didn't recognize. Unknown. You think you're safe because you have paper. Paper burns. I forwarded it to Evan and the detective, labeled it Agent, Text, Paper Burns, and stared at the words until they lost their threat and turned into fonts. Sunday, 3 p.m., Evan's office, prep for court. Night air held its breath against the windows. And somewhere in the dark, my daughter dialed, hung up, dialed again. Sunday had the texture of a waiting room. I vacuumed glass I'd already vacuumed. I wiped the counter twice. At 2:20 p.m., I printed fresh copies of everything until the printer complained and then apologized in its little digital way. I placed tabs like a jeweler. Transcript, doorbell still, tampering 1, key, tampering 2, friend, North Line 7500 MOS 500, HOA takedowns, unknown, agent threats, voicemail, number 3 plus MER 4. At 2:58, I parked outside Evan's building. The vault door yawned open like a promise. Evan had a yellow legal pad, 2 pens, and a half-eaten protein bar. He waved me in like a pilot bringing a plane to gate. Ground rules. He didn't sit yet. Tomorrow is short. Judge wants clarity. You answer only what's asked. No speeches. Yes, Your Honor. No, Your Honor. I don't know. Or that's in Exhibit B. You don't turn to her. You don't turn to the friend. You look at the judge and the paper holds your hand. I nodded. The room smelled faintly of toner and peppermint gum. He walked me through the outline. Their motion. Restraining order on the basis of fear, abuse, and community impact. Our response. Deny abuse. Show evidence of vandalism, extortion, tampering, attempted entry, defamation. Standard for a TRO is likelihood of success and irreparable harm. Facts beat adjectives. We practiced answers. He lobbed questions in the judge's clipped cadences. Did you strike your daughter? No, Your Honor. Did you threaten her? No, Your Honor. Did you record her without consent? In my own home, on my device, in a one-party consent state. Exhibit A, transcript. Why are you here? To ask the court to stop ongoing harassment while we pursue restitution through civil channels. He marked each clean response with a small tick that felt like approval without sugar. Artifacts, he said, sliding the tabs toward me like a dealer. When you mention one, touch it. Judges are magpies. They like shiny proof. We calibrated the order. Doorbell video first, crime exists. Then transcript, admission plus $5,000 ask. Then North Line, real damages, not theater. Then tampering, key plus friend, ongoing threat. Then voicemails, texts, extortion language. Then HOA removals, community harm from defamation. End with settlement offer. We tried to resolve. He made me say the numbers out loud. $7,500, I said. 500 solon. 8 monthly payments of $1,000. Final $500 for the deductible. Good, he said. Numbers are anchors. Judges like anchors. He pushed the settlement across the table. Last opportunity language, he said. If she walks in with a pen, we sign. It moots the TRO. I don't expect it. But keep the door unlocked in your head. We finished at 4:12. He looked at his phone. I'll email the final binder, he said. Sleep. Eat something not made of coffee. On my way out, he added, and remember, you're not there to win a movie. You're there to win the next inch. Late afternoons softened into a color that makes people forgive each other on porches. I made pasta. I ate half. I packed tomorrow's bag like a parent packing for a field trip. Copies, chargers, a small bottle of water, breath mints I'd never needed before. At 6:37 p.m., Rick texted, She's restless. Friends here. I'm trying to peel them apart. 10 minutes later, she says she has one last offer. I typed back, Evan says any offer goes through him. He sent a grimace emoji that looked like a prayer. At 7:09 p.m., my phone buzzed. Not Rick, not Evan, Lena. Lena, meet me, no cameras, 10 minutes, front walk. I stared at the screen, then at the door, then back to the screen. I forwarded the text to Evan. He replied, "Step outside. Porch light on. Door closed behind you. Recorder on. No more than 5 minutes. If she tries to enter, you call 911. I turned on the porch light. I tucked the phone in my palm with the recorder app ready. The night air had a lake chill without the lake. She walked up alone. Hoodie down this time. Makeup vigilant. The friend wasn't in sight, but I could feel her hovering somewhere like a Wi-Fi network. "We can be done," Lena said, stopping at the bottom step. "Tonight." "Okay," I said. "Say it." "You give me the 7,500. The number came out like a password. "No," I said. "Then half." She cut her eyes up the street. "I'll take half. You keep half. That way no one has to know." "Everyone already knows," I said. "The judge will too, tomorrow." "I'll go on live," she said quickly, like the words were a rope she could throw across a river. "I'll say I lied. I'll take down everything. I'll apologize. I'll say I made a mistake. You get your precious reputation back, and Northline stays out of it." "Northline is out," I said. "It's closed." "Then it's easier," she said. "There's no victim here." "There is," I said. "You're looking at him." She flinched, as if the sentence had a sharp corner she hadn't seen. "I'll sign your paper," she said, too fast. "But the numbers change. No 7,500, no 500, counseling only." I move on. "That isn't accountability," I said. "That's PR." Her smile shrank and sharpened. "I didn't come here to be lectured." "I didn't invite you to negotiate on my porch," I said. Silence pooled. A moth tapped the glass of the porch light like it wanted in. "You could still be the good guy," she said softly. "People would forgive you. You know they want to. Give them a story where the generous dad forgives his daughter and the neighborhood claps." "I'm not auditioning for them," I said. "I'm being your father the only way left." Her eyes flicked to the camera above the door like a reflex. "Neutral third party," she said with a little laugh, trying to lift it into banter. "Your favorite." "Last chance," I said. "Sign the agreement as written. We file it. We leave each other alone, except for payments and check-ins your counselor controls. We stop the bleeding." She stepped onto the first stair, into the beam of the porch light. For a second, she looked 14 again. Chin up, eyes wet, trying to be brave for a thing she caused and couldn't name. I wanted the muscle that still called itself father to move. It didn't. It held. "I'll fix it my way," she whispered, the old line raw this time. "Don't," I said. My voice surprised me. Gentle. Final. She shook her head like shaking off rain. "See you in court," she said, and turned. Halfway down the walk, she stopped. "By the way," she said over her shoulder without looking back, "your spare isn't where you think it is." She tossed something. It arced through light and clinked on the step. My old, now useless key, pocked from the friend's panicked yank the night before. She kept walking. A shadow peeled off the darker shadow near the curb. The friend. They got in a car and rolled away with their lights still off for half a house length like the street wouldn't notice. I picked up the key, logged the time, dropped it into a zip bag, and added relinquished with a Sharpie I didn't remember buying. At 8:22 p.m., Evan texted, "Nice restraint. See you 8:30 a.m. outside 406, wear the same calm." I set my phone on the counter, face down. I stood at the window and watched the driveway until the SUV's shape became only a darker shape. I thought of Grace's laugh the night we drove home in that thing, of Lena asleep in the back under a sweatshirt like a tent, the way the dashboard light made us look like a small planet. I washed the pasta pot. I set 2 alarms. I laid my suit jacket over a chair and my tie across it. I put the binder on the table and stacked the pens on top like tiny swords. I slept for 3 hours like a book with a thumb holding the place. Morning had sharp corners. I shaved like it could make me credible. I arrived at the courthouse early enough to watch the security guards chat about football and donuts. Evan appeared with a leather folder and a travel mug. He looked me over once and nodded like I'd done the assignment. 2 minutes in the hall, he said. Then we go in. Across the marble, Lena arrived with the friend. No lawyer. Rick trailed 10 steps behind with the face of a man who's decided that showing up is the only thing left that counts. Lena clocked my suit, my binder, Evan's tie. Her chin tipped a fraction. Evan checked the docket pinned to the corkboard. 406, second row, he said. We're after a landlord-tenant emergency and before a dog bite dispute. Keep your answers shorter than a bark. We stood outside the door like pilots at a gate again. A deputy opened it, shooing out a flustered property manager and a tenant clutching a plant. The room beyond buzzed like a beehive that had learned to file. The clerk poked her head out and called, "Hail, V, hail!" Evan's hand landed on my shoulder, warm and light, a grounding wire. "Ready?" he asked, not because he needed the answer, but because I did. "Yes," I said. The deputy swung the door wider, and the courtroom smell, paper, old wood, someone's coffee, rolled over us as the judge took the bench and the clerk said, calling the matter of Hale versus Hale. Courtrooms make everyone speak in chords instead of melodies. The judge took the bench, the clerk called our case, and the room shifted into the key of procedure. "Appearances," the judge said. "Evan Cole for the respondent," Evan answered, calm as a metronome. "Mr. Hale is present." Lena stepped forward with the friend at her shoulder. "For the petitioner," she said, without adding a lawyer's name because there wasn't one. Her chin stayed high. The friend's eyeliner could have cross-examined a cloud. "This is petitioner's motion for a temporary restraining order," the judge said, eyes on the file, "and respondent's cross-request and motion to strike the counter-complaint." She looked up. "We'll start with the petitioner. Ma'am, you're asking me for an order keeping your father away from you and limiting his speech. What is your evidence of immediate harm?" Lena launched the speech she'd been rehearsing on lives and porches. "He's harassed me," she said. "He sent strangers to my home with legal threats. He's turned the neighborhood against me. The judge raised a palm. "Facts," she said. "Dates, times, documents, recordings, not conclusions." Lena flicked a glance at the friend, who nudged her forward. "He grabbed me last month," she said. "He yells. He records me without consent. He's controlling the narrative in the HOA to make me look crazy. He got an insurance payout, and now he's trying to make me pay him money I don't have." "Evidence," the judge said again, not unkind and not patient. "Do you have a police report about a grab? Photographs? Medical records? Affidavits?" "No," Lena said. "But there's a video. The edited clip you attached to your petition," the judge asked, turning a page. "I've watched it. It lacks context and continuity. Do you have the full recording?" Silence. The friend shifted. The judge waited the length of a breath. "Very well," the judge said, and turned to Evan. "Respondent?" Evan rose like he'd been resting the whole time. "Yes, Your Honor. We'll be brief." He slid our binder to the clerk, who carried it up with the reverence of someone bringing bread. "Exhibit A," Evan said. "Doorbell video stills and clip showing a hooded individual vandalizing Mr. Hale's vehicle at approximately 10:07 p.m. followed by a clear recording of the same individual returning later to attempt entry and remove a spare key from the wheel well. The court has the unedited video on a thumb drive. Admitted for purposes of this motion, the judge said, eyes on the screen as the clerk cued the loop. The hammer arc, the check of the street, the calm. A small sound moved through the gallery. People always think violence is loud. Exhibit B, Evan continued, a transcript of a conversation the next night in which petitioner states, and I quote, "I did it. I destroyed your car. You file the claim. $5,000. Cash is easiest. Don't make me fix it my way. One-party consent in respondent's home." The judge's eyes hit the lines. I watched the moment clarity dock. She looked up. "Petitioner, did you say those words?" Lena's face worked. He trapped me," she said. "He always, yes or no?" the judge said. A beat. "Yes," she said, so small the word almost didn't make it to the microphone. Exhibit C, Evan said. Northline insurance assessment and payout, $7,500 less a $500 deductible, with on-site adjuster notes. Exhibit D, texts and voicemails from the petitioner and a third party threatening reputational harm and urging that respondent handle this privately with cash. A voicemail offering to clear respondent online if he pays $7,500. Exhibit E, tampering the following night by petitioner's associate attempting entry with a key, captured by respondent's dash cam, after respondent had rekeyed locks. Failure evident when the key sticks. The judge watched the second clip longer than she had to. The friend's grin at her own reflection, the key that didn't fit, the small panic, the bolt. When it ended, the judge capped her pen and looked at Lena. "Here is what I see," she said. "There was a crime, there are admissions, there are continuing attempts to pressure the respondent with public posts and late-night visits. There is no credible evidence of abuse by the respondent. On the contrary, I see a father documenting, calling police, and seeking civil remedies." The friend made a sound like a scoff learned in expensive rooms. The judge didn't look at her. "Ma'am," she said without warmth, "if you're not counsel, you don't speak." The friend's mouth clicked shut. "As to petitioner's request," the judge went on, "the legal standard for a TRO is likelihood of success on the merits and irreparable harm absent an order. You have not met that burden. Your motion is denied." A whisper moved through the benches, the soft communal release people make when a story shifts the way it wanted to all along. "As to respondent's request," the judge said, turning to Evan, "given the credible evidence of ongoing harassment and attempted entry, I will grant a narrow temporary restraining order protecting the respondent and his property pending further proceedings." She read it like a recipe. Petitioner and any agents acting on her behalf are enjoined from contacting respondent, except through counsel, from approaching within 100 feet of his residence or vehicle, from posting content referencing respondent or this matter on social media, and from attempting to enter or tamper with his property. Violation will result in sanctions and possible arrest. Lena's breath caught. The friend looked like someone had turned off a faucet she'd been drinking from. "I will also set this matter for a status conference on the civil restitution claim," the judge said, flipping pages. "It appears counsel has circulated a proposed settlement with counseling, a payment schedule reflecting the $7,500 and $500 deductible, removal of defamatory content, and a written apology. Petitioner, you may wish to reconsider your position in light of today's ruling." Lena stared at the table like it had betrayed her. The judge softened imperceptibly. "I am not here to break families," she said. "I am here to stop the breaking." Use the law to pause the harm and find the next right step. She signed. The clerk stamped. The deputy handed copies to both sides with the practical tenderness of a nurse changing a dressing. Anything further? The judge asked. Yes, Your Honor, Evan said. Sharp respondent moves to strike petitioner's counter-complaint as frivolous and for fees associated with responding. Granted as to the motion to strike, the judge said. As to fees, I'll hear it at the status conference. 9 days from now, 10 a.m., this courtroom. The gavel didn't bang. It doesn't in real life. The judge just said, "Next case," and the room shifted a degree. Outside, the hallway felt wider than it had when we walked in. Rick leaned against the marble with his eyes closed, like he'd been holding a breath since last week, and had finally been told it was air. He opened them when we approached. "Thank you," he said to Evan, and then to me, softer. "I'm sorry." "You're here," I said. "That's something." The friend started to speak and then didn't. The TRO in her hand had words she could not edit. Lena stood a few feet away, reading the same sheet, lips moving like she was learning a new language the hard way. "Ms. Hale," Evan said, tone even as a countertop. "I will email the settlement again. If you wish to sign, reply, and we will meet at a notary. If not, discovery begins. Either way, do not violate the order. It's actual, not online." She didn't look at him. She looked at me. For a second, her face lost its angles, and I saw the kid who used to fall asleep during car rides and wake up asking for pancakes. Then the grown woman who stood in my living room and named a price came back. "I could still fix it," she whispered. "You just started," I said, gentle because cruelty is cheap and I was done buying it. "Fix it this way." She folded the order once, then again, tiny squares that made big words small. She put it in her pocket and walked down the hall with the friend's shadow stuck to her shoes. Rick stayed where he was, guilt and love like weights across his shoulders. "I'll drive her home," he said. "Then I'll call you. Not tonight, but soon." "Call Evan," I said out of habit. "Then, and me later, when it's not about this." He nodded. "Okay." Evan and I stood under the courthouse awning while the morning remembered how to be a day. He handed me a copy of the order in a clear sleeve. "You did exactly what you needed to," he said. "Next inch, civil." "What if she signs?" I asked. "Then we file the stipulation, and the TRO becomes conditions instead of a cage," he said. "You get your piece with teeth." I thought of the binder on my kitchen table, of the deposit receipt taped to my fridge, of the dash cam's tiny eye blinking in a driveway that had learned our faces. I thought of Grace, who would have hated this and approved of every line. "Go home," Evan said. "Eat something warm. Don't read the comments. If you need to hear a human voice that isn't mine, call someone who knows you from before hashtags." I went home. The street looked normal, the way a healed scar looks like skin. Sprinklers ticked. A kid practiced a skateboard ollie and failed beautifully. Tom lifted a hand. I lifted mine back. The HOA board had pinned a new notice on the community board. Speculation posts will be removed. Violations may incur fines. It wasn't justice. It was a broom. Sometimes a broom is what you need. On my porch, a stationery envelope lay under the welcome mat like a cliché. My name on the front in Lena's handwriting. Hurried and careful at once. I stood there with it in my hand, and then took it inside because the living room had made room for worse. I opened it at the kitchen table, next to the stack of paper that had held my life steady. A single page. The court's restraining order photocopied on the back. as if she needed it to stiffen what she was trying to say. Dad, I'm not signing today. I don't know if I will. I'm angry at you and at everyone and at me. But I won't come to the house. I won't post. I won't send anyone. I returned the key. I meant to hurt you to make you help me. It worked the wrong way. I don't know how to fix it yet. Maybe the classes will help. Maybe I'm writing this so a judge will think I'm good. Maybe I'm writing it because I still know how. I don't know. I'm not saying sorry, right? I can't write it like a form. I did it. I destroyed your car. I said the money. I said the line. I made it worse. That's the truth. L. It wasn't the apology the agreement required. It wasn't enforceable or notarized or spelled like a lawyer would like. It was a start that didn't belong to me. I took a picture of the letter for the file and then put the paper in a drawer that wasn't for exhibits. The rest of the day was ugly chores that felt like healing. I scheduled the body shop appointment with the $7,500 in hand and the $500 line item written in ink. I emailed the detective a thank you and an update. I sent Evan a photo of the letter with the subject line, "Not exhibit, just note," and he replied, "Good, keep it that way." At dusk, I bolted the new lock and stood in the driveway with a roll of blue painter's tape. I marked the dents I'd missed in the first pass, so the shop wouldn't. A breeze lifted and set the maple leaves back down like quiet applause. The dash cam blinked its little heartbeat. The porch light caught the glass I still hadn't found in the seams and made it shine. My phone buzzed once. Evan, status conference set. I'll bring a draft judgment in case she signs. If she doesn't, we keep walking. Proud of you. 2 words landed and stayed. Keep walking. I looked at the house with the curtains we'd picked together, at the photos on the wall that had taken on new weight and hadn't cracked, at the rectangle of concrete where something bad had happened and the world hadn't ended. I thought of the line I'd been circling every night since the living room. I want justice without losing my daughter. Maybe the lie underneath it was that justice and loss were separate rooms. Maybe the truth was that boundaries are the way you love people who hurt you. Close the door. Leave the light on. I went inside. I set alarms that felt like plans instead of panic. I rinsed a mug and left it upside down on a towel to dry. I turned the recorder app off and put the phone face down as if it deserved to sleep too. Before bed, I walked to the window and looked at the SUV one more time. My reflection broke across the dents and still looked like me. The porch light made the driveway glow like a small stage that wasn't performing anything anymore. The house breathed. So did I. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.